I'm really trying to help people capture their imagination, reclaim their imagination. The stuff that I create, the stuff that I make is really trying to champion the misfit, weirdo, and make-believer in us all. Because I believe that weirdos change the world. All right, I like this crowd. So here's an example of something I wrote recently. It's called Hope is Like Soap. Hope is like soap. It needs a dispenser. And sheesh, is the world pretty dirty. So if you write words, please write something now. We don't care if it's short or if it's wordy. If you push pixels, please push them with passion. If you sing, sing like no one's around. Hope is like soap. The more we keep scrubbing, the more we'll get stuff off the ground. Here's another example of something I've written. It's a little bit darker. It's about my friend Gary. Gary the horse couldn't wait to grow up, couldn't wait to get his life together, till one day he arose and he realized too late he'd become a brown belt made of leather. So the reason I make these quirky poems and I make these little films, and we did this podcast series where we went around interviewing weirdos and make-believers who are literally changing everything, is because I believe that this thing we as humans have been pre-wired with, called an imagination, is actually there on purpose. It's actually there on purpose. But if you're like me, you've forgotten that once in a while. You've been told to stuff it, to put it aside, that it didn't have any value, that there were more important things. It was better to fit in than to stick out. How many of you can remember a time where you felt like that before? Just by show of hands. Yeah. How many of you can trace that feeling back to when you were a kid? Yeah. That's a lot of us. See, that's why I want to dedicate this next season of my life and my work to helping kids connect with and develop their imagination. I want to build the weirdos of tomorrow. And I don't even know what that means yet. Me and my team are working on a bunch of different things, but I do know a couple of things that are true. I have a friend who is in marketing, and she told me this really interesting story about makeup brands. She said that makeup brands start to market to girls around the age of 12 because they realize that if they can connect with a 12-year-old kid, they can hook them for life. Guys, what if we applied like those same kinds of strategies and those same kinds of tactics to fostering what was on the inside of kids, not just what's on the outside? Right. So I want to take the rest of my time here today and just share with you something I'm working on, a story that attempts to do just that. This is just one example of the things that me and my team are working on, producing and developing to foster imagination in the next generation. It's called Turn Off the TV, Theodore B. In 22 Oak Street, a house much like yours, lived Emerson Griswold, who loved the outdoors. And if you looked up the nostrils of Emerson G all the way to the brain, past the snotty green sea, you'd find the kingdom of hullabaloos. It's a place where elephants tango with green kangaroos and pirates swashbuckle with creatures from Mars, and it's not too uncommon to see flying cars. Yes, all this in the mind of Sir Emerson G., who ruled this great land since the young age of 3, when the boy first imagined its first polka dot tree. It's grown bigger and bigger since that fateful day, with acres and acres and acres to play. Now, a couple houses over from Emerson G. lived Theodore Berg, who loved watching TV. In Theodore's brain lied the kingdom of Zunk. And all through this land, guys, there was nothing but junk. I mean, like just sludge, not even the good kind, The kind you'd roll around in even when mom says no? No, guys, this is horrible, uninteresting, pitiful litter, the kind that made spinach taste 10 times more bitter. Now look, guys, it wasn't Zunk's fault that its land was so dreary. I know Theodore B. I summon the theory, okay? All of those video games this kid's poor two eyes digested every hour of every day, okay, except for those when he rested, turned Theodore's brain into this bleak, mushy ball until Theodore couldn't imagine at all. But then one day, Emerson came over to play at Theodore B's house while his mom was away. "What should we do?" Theodore asked, quite sour. "My iBlurg is broken. My X-Pod needs power." "Well, we could travel to Portugal," cried Emerson G., "on an airplane that turns into water jet skis." Theodore stared at him without even a blink, and for once in his lifetime, took a moment to think. "Yeah, it doesn't make sense." And he grabbed the remote. "Let's watch television." "Yeah, that's what I vote." But Emerson had another solution to rid his friend's brain of all its pollution. I don't mean to be rude, and I don't want to be mean, but you can have fun without some kind of screen. There's a land in your head, an imagination. Though it seems all your residents have gone on vacation. We'll get them back, though. I promise. You'll see, there is so much we can do when we turn off the TV. Well, Theodore shrugged, and he turned off the knob, while Emerson went straight to work on his job. "Look out the window," he shouted out loudly. "There's a Sasquatch in trouble, but we'll rescue him proudly." "All I see is an oak tree," Theodore said smugly. "No, that's just a disguise so he won't look so ugly." Clearly. So the two of them ran outside to encounter the ape who apparently could shift into any old shape. "He's being attacked by that old garden gnome. Quick, get out your wand and we'll send him on home." Now guys, I wish you could see this. I wish you were around when Theodore noticed that twig on the ground. He scooped up the twig, and after some hesitation, the boy dove head first into his imagination. He pointed his twig wand, and he banished the villain, and the Sasquatch went home to his Satch wife and children. Since that day, Theodore's brain was alive. The kingdom of Zunk was no longer deprived. Now that the TV was off once in a while, Zunk had some time to imagine in style. They just added a slide to their milk chocolate pool. You should see it sometime. It is really quite cool. Theodore and Emerson are still friends to this day. In fact, they'll both be 87 on their next birthday. And Theodore still thanks Emerson for helping him see there's lots you could do when you turn off the TV. When your mind is a kingdom full of wonder and glory, and you begin to imagine your own kind of story. Thank you.